This time on Captain Chaos's laboratory, we're going to be working on the Lemax Ludwig's wooden Nutcracker factory. There you go. Excuse me. So, this thing clunks or clacks or however you want to describe it. Here, do it. Yeah. So, it's coming from over here. So it's probably the drive mechanism for this belt. It doesn't do it all the time. It's intermittent. There you go. And when it does it, since everything's on, and sometimes it stops the whole mechanism, but his arm jumps, the characters, like the belt jerks because there's slack in the belt. These characters don't really move, but you can see the turntable stop. So I'm thinking this is probably similar to the, oh yeah, it just escaped me. The Elf-made toy factory, I believe. So I don't think opening the bottom is going to make much of a difference, but we're going to start there. Because I could be wrong, but I doubt that it's the same. I have a funny feeling it's going to have to be popped up here, but I want to double check the bottom. We got 3 screws in the middle. I'll just turn it over so you can see. You got 3 screws in the disc, 3 screws that surround the disc, and it looks like there's some screws under the rubber feet. So let's take some screws out. Like that. First I'm going to do is take out the 3 in the middle, so that way I can see what's under there. It should just be access for this disc, probably just some gears. So this will be the first official video of the new year. The previous video was half before, half after, due to the fact that parts arrival. So this is all after. Hopefully your New Year's isn't as eventful as mine, with lots of work and people driving into the back of my trailer. It's been an interesting beginning of the year. I might be able to pry it out with just some needle nose or tweezers. There we go. Alright. I thought I was wrong in my assumption of what is in here. So I might be wrong on how to actually fix this thing. So here's the motor and the drive belt. So this one's actually pretty easy to get to if you have a motor problem. It's literally right there on the bottom. So if your belt's bad, which this belt, yeah, it's okay. But let's see if we can take the motor assembly out and see what gears are attached to the underside of this big pulley, because a lot of times one of those gears off the drive pulley is cracked. That's very common. So before we start tearing the whole thing apart, let's take out the gearbox assembly, which is 3 screws like normal for Lemax. So this has the impossible gear, like a lot of them do, and really excessive amounts of grease. So we're going to wipe off some of this grease, because this is what destroys your motors. This excessive grease gets inside. So let's take a look at these gears. I'm going to cheat and turn it on and look at the gears. You can hear it's turning, or you can probably see it too. There's no clacking, which means something else is broke. I'm going to put a little stress on with my finger right here. So I am pushing really hard on that gear. The motor slowed down a little, but there's no clacking. If there was a cracked gear, it would separate under the torque. Now, make sure the volume works. There you go. So get all the grease off my fingers. Yeah, there is a ton of grease. So since I have it out and it doesn't appear the grease has migrated over to the motor yet, because the person that owned this is local to our villaging club, owns this, plural, current tense, not past. She doesn't store them, the animated ones, outside, because here in Arizona, it's really tough. It's really hard on the unit because this grease liquefies, turns into oil, and gets inside your motors. And then you got to replace them. There we go. So we're going to set that aside, so we throw it away. That's just nasty and covered in grease. I'm going to put this back in because it screws to this base, but I don't want to tear any of the wires. So I'm going to pop this thing back in real fast. When I say tear the wires, I'm referring to, I'm going to try and remove the rest of this base, which is the screws underneath the feet, as well as the 3 screws that surround it. And I don't want to break anything. So, at least on this one, if you need to replace the belt, main drive gears, or motor, easily accessible, 3 screws, access, 3 screws, to just needed to get the impossible gear to seat, so I just turn it off for a second to get it to line up with the teeth. But that's why that last screw was so hard to put in, is because the teeth weren't quite lined up. And now we need to pop off the feet. I'm going to use a small flathead or blade screwdriver to get them out of the way. Might have to just replace these. These are distorted, probably from being in the heat. Even though they're not stored in the heat, or this one's not, they're still shipped over here on trucks. And the Christmas stuff comes out at the end of Halloween season, which is still usually in the 100 degrees around here. So I'm probably just going to have to replace all 6 of these rubber feet because they are in bad shape. They were already smeared, meaning that they were melted and pushed to the side. And the easiest way I find to make these feet is, if you have a crafting hole puncher, you know, one where you can pop in different dies to make shapes, just get the circular one and use the self-adhesive foam that you can get from Michael's, or you peel the backer off, just punch out a handful and pop them into their holes. The hardest part of the whole process is finding the hole puncher. I have one that I got a long time ago that had the inside is replaceable. It's a Halloween one. It's got like witches and pumpkins and ghosts and stuff, but they make different dies for them. Okay, so this just gets me to this hub, which the screws are loose. I don't know if that's the problem. So let's spin those down. Let's see if this thing still turns. It does. There's, there is another screw under the tree, which is very common. You have to break the tree free. So the problem I'm having is going to be in the upper mechanism, which requires me to remove the house. Here is the, let's see if I can tip this. Here's the gear that transfers from this big gear here up and then turns everything up top. So the problem is up top, like I thought. But if you need the access to get to this piece, because let's say this piece is wobbly, the screws are behind this wall, so you can either remove the top, which is usually a little bit more of a hassle, or you could remove the base, get to these two screws. This screw shouldn't back out since it's actually glued under the tree. There's nowhere for it to go. But these two screws were up, and now they're not. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this thing back in and put a couple of screws in to hold it, and then we're going to take the top off. So those three screws will definitely hold this thing for me. They're right around the central hub, which is where all the torque's going to be anyhow. So now I'll tip it back down. Make sure it's still clunking, still out of alignment somewhere up top. Now around the edges I see glue, but on the very back there's a big gap. So we know that that's how they assembled it. Even the screws on this belt are coming out. This whole top section is actually already separated. You can see the crack in the glue right there, maybe. And I can't see it in the viewfinder, but you can see how much lateral movement there is. This is all separated back here. Looks like it's just the front that's holding it. Probably mainly this guy, because he's had the drum and the Nutcracker held in with the screws. I can see him here on the inside. Looking through the belt, or where the belt mechanism is. Alright. Let's just take a little bit of a look around here. There is no glue on the back. So the glue stops right about where my finger is. And I can see all the way through. There's no glue. And it starts back up right about where the blue package is. So there is not a lot of glue holding this thing together, which is why on a lot of these pieces I don't lift them like this. I'm still supporting it by the other hand. I usually lift them from the base, and that's because I don't trust their glue jobs in some of these. And this would be a perfect example of one where the back is so big I don't have to use a small spudger. I can literally just slide that thing all the way under, like all the way, because there's nothing here. The only thing that's stopping it is that the shoulder is hitting the gray plastic. So, yeah. So let's see if we can get it to pop. If not, we'll use some hot glue. I'm sorry, heat. And heat up the glue. There we go. I know it sounds a lot more violent than it really is. What you have to watch for is on some of the pieces, these like the character and this wood is glued not only to the building but to the base. So we just have to watch as we're popping it and lifting it if we see stress on some of the other stuff. So in this case, the character is glued to the door. So he's now free of the floor, and he's coming up with the house. Okay. She is almost completely separated. Something's holding it, which appears to be maybe the wires. Alright, so she's mostly separated. Now I just need to see what's restricting my movement. I don't want to force it too much because I don't want to break anything. It technically should pop straight off, but I have a funny feeling there's a wire or something that I can't see that's holding it that got caught in the resin. That's good. This is a bright flashlight, so you're probably seeing a lot of balance issues with the camera. Yeah, there's a wire right here that is glued to both the floor and the house, and I think that's what she's caught on. That or is glued in the middle. It has, looks like it has internal clips. I didn't see them when I was in here, but I'm going to pull these bottom 3 screws out just to double check. So there are a couple of clips, and I need to find something that fits inside. Also, it looks like it might be glued right here on the inside of this tunnel. All right, where you see the screwdriver is. Yeah, it's glued. I need to get a little separation to try and pry the glue out of the center. So there we go. Whew. I wish I could get to the circuit board to unplug this motor. That way I can move this whole assembly out of the way. I can't get to the circuit board till I can get this seam to separate and these clips to pop. I think all my spudger tools are too fat. Yeah, they're too fat. Nope. This part might take you some time, as you can tell. It's taken me quite a bit of time. I might just have to sit here and fight with it for a little bit, since this video is pushing like 25 minutes now. So, oh hey, this is cracked. Maybe I don't have to go much further. I just noticed that this drive gear right here is cracked. Flashlight helps a lot. That might be the whole problem. It might be cracked down here and it's skipping on these teeth. I'm going to try and show you. So can I carefully hang that so it doesn't break the wires? So it's going to be so hard to see. Hopefully you can see the fracture right there. It's cracked right there. Right there. That is a broken gear. And that gear, if it gets caught on any of these teeth, will open and close, which will cause everything to jerk. It sounds like it's coming from over here, probably because it's attached to this plastic right in here. Right here. And it's reverberating onto this side. Now, the biggest problem I have is a lot of my parts are still packed. I haven't finished moving the laboratory over. So that's going to be a slight problem. But it is repairable once I find a gear. I do have one of my old other houses that I repaired. It should have the same drive shaft. That's Christmas. I don't do a Christmas display. I fixed the house. It was a few years ago. I still have it in this box. I pulled it out for a couple of videos to show people what they sound like. I think it has the same exact drive shaft, which means that I can just replace the drive shaft, because where you break a gear, well, a brand new one, is pressing it on, because the hole in the gear is smaller and it's plastic, and the metal is fatter and it's, well, metal. So if you press it wrong, the weaker of the two materials will split, which would normally be the plastic. So that needs to be fixed. The top one, I can only see the top of the gear and it looks fine. The gear that's the teeth that are pointing down, I cannot see. The eccentric that makes him move, I can see that. I can also see it through the pulley there. The rest of all the moving parts are behind this solid piece of plastic in here, which I cannot see. Which there is glue. That's what I was pulling out of here, strings of glue that hold this plate on, as well as there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clips, which I have to pop to get the house off. And of course, the clips have glue on them. Why wouldn't they? Because remember, Lemax tells you to replace, not to repair. And we're going to try and repair. So I'm going to pause this for a moment. I'm going to try and get the rest of this house apart, just to make sure nothing else is broke. Make sure that top one's good and that none of the gears up in here or over here that make him work are still intact. Make sure there's no fractures. That one I can't see until I did this. And as soon as the light hit it, this brighter light, I could see it fine. This new laboratory has less lighting, or in the sense that it actually has more lights. They're not near as bright. They're yellowish in color. The only white light I have is the one over here, which isn't overly bright. It's only one 4-foot bulb. And then I have my light right here. You see a reflection on my hand, which is bright. But now that this room is bigger and it's a different shade, I get less light in here. I might have to upgrade like the light over here. I might remove it and replace it with an ultra bright LED, but then I might get a lot of shadowing forward. It is an LED light currently, but it's in front of me. I need something above me or behind me. So, but I'm planning on replacing the ceiling fan with a brighter light fixture on it. So that might come and help. That might help. So that might provide a little extra light in here. But in the meantime, that's why I have a bright flashlight, so I can see better. And I can maneuver this light. This light's now maneuverable right there. Whereas the other one, the same light, just different bracket. The other bracket wasn't. It was supposed to be, but it wasn't. This one at least pivots. So bear with me for a few minutes here. I'm going to see about tearing the rest of this apart, get these clips broke free. I'm probably going to have to heat them up. And then I want to check the rest of the gears. And then we'll go from there. Worst case is I'll strip apart my other piece and we'll get this fixed. Because, again, I don't do Christmas. I got the piece as a parts piece. I fixed it. So if you have that piece, you can, well, fix yours. But I don't do Christmas villages, so I'm not too concerned about it. It's just mainly for parts. I have 100 parts pieces, or close to it. So, anyhow, be back in just a moment. Okay, I'm back. I didn't get my other house yet to tear it apart, but I finally got this to separate, and I'm going to tell you, it's a pain. They have a glue you can see right here, and they have glue right here. So with the back tipped, I got in there with spudgers and a screwdriver, got this to pop. Then that gave me enough room to get in at an angle to get this to pop. I also disconnected the motor base, which you can tell is not here. It's sitting over here off camera, right here, before I did all that. And I did that by figuring out that if you take this out, still plugged in, if you pop the glue around the edges, it was on 3 of the 4 sides, so it wasn't too hard to get to since, you know, they didn't glue it all the way around. You can reach into the circuit board kind of. You can see the wires right there, and it's the bottom plug. And with thin needle-nose pliers, you can reach in and get it. You can also do it with a set of heavy gauge tweezers like these, or even a hemostat if you have any, since I came up in a thread on the bottom of one of the videos because I couldn't remember what it was called. Something that's small enough to get in there and grab it. And if you don't know what a hemostat is, that's a hemostat. And I have them in varying lengths and thicknesses, but what's nice about these is they can, once you grab onto something, they lock. So they have the, so you can pull it out. If you're a fisher man or a fishing person, woman, doesn't matter. This is a hook remover. You can see it's kind of nice because the way it offsets. So you can also reach there and grab the plug and pull it out. So there's plenty of tools out available that you can use to unplug that base that's now right there to get it out, to get out of your way. That way you don't break it. Yeah, that's why I have so many weird tools, is because some of these projects take weird tools. But anyhow, so it's out, and the mechanism up here, you have to break this guy free, and you're gonna have to pop the panel and remove him to get to the access, because you cannot pull this out down because of him, and you can't push it up because there's a lip that's on either side of this belt. But if I turn this, it's quiet. The thud you hear is his arm. If I do it slowly, it doesn't do it because it's his arm smacking the plastic. See? Boop. So it looks like the majority of the issue is caused by this cracked gear here. So I shouldn't have to take the rest of this apart. I should be able to replace this shaft. I might be able to replace it by reaching in here and disconnecting it. It's on a piece of plastic that slips. If the plastic doesn't slide out, which is this thing right here, you can kind of see the grooves right there that it slides back and forth on. If it doesn't slide out, I will just pull this gear off and replace the gear carefully. I like to replace the shafts, but if I can't, I can't. I don't want to tear this apart any more than I have to, just because the more you tear it apart, the probability of breaking it increases exponentially. This is a resin house, and it's really jagged around the base, where they did a really crappy job of casting. Also, they may not have cared. One, it's more money to clean the insides. Two, also the larger surface areas and chunks provides better adhesion for the glue. So I mean, there's possibilities why it was left. So I'm gonna now go get my other house, since I finally got this thing apart, and I'm going to see if it's got the same drive shaft, and if I can fix this right now. And you can see this was supposed to have glue. You can see the tracks on the back, and I think it was glued, and it either separated or it never touched, meaning when they put it on, it wasn't seated flat and it was tipped forward. And then here's all the little clips I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. The other one's right here under the shadow. Those are the clips I was popping by taking this little screwdriver, sliding it from underneath and pushing it. And there's glue on all 6 of those clips, which is why they're so hard to remove. And usually they break. If you set this back in where this white base fits inside of this gray protrusion, the clips aren't necessary. Just put some hot glue on it. Put a little hot glue and then stick it down. The reason I say hot glue is you can pry it up and you can heat it with a nozzle, especially like a thin one like that, and you can get underneath the lip of the house and blow heat on the edge to help it separate. And then you can do it from in here too. If you put some right here and right here, you can blow it in from these doors or from the base of this hole. So just for reassembly. But in the meantime, or in a moment, I'm gonna go grab that other house, remove it from its box, and I'm gonna open it up and see if that's the same gear, so we can get this thing fixed. And then get it back to its owner. And then go on to the next one. Because being the holidays and being in a car accident, they're starting to back up. I haven't had a chance to work on them. I'm working on them slowly. I've done a couple that were off camera that are ones already repaired. Now I'm just trying to catch up with the ones that are new to help you all out there who are watching be able to repair these yourself if you want to attempt it. So, and also help those who may be in the hobby industry that's getting into repairing these, maybe for a profession, see how to start. And you may perfect a better way than the way I do it. I just did it by trial and error, and this house is similar to several other houses. I knew that usually you have to remove the top, but they did change the motor access to the bottom, which was nice. So anyway, be back in a few moments, either with a replacement shaft from other house or when I purchase one, if I can find one, to fix this. So hopefully we'll get this done here this evening and move on to the next one. One moment. Okay, I'm back, and it's the Tinseltown Plaza that uses similar setup. It's right here. It's not the same, but this is basically the same as the Haunted Horde Hotel from the Spooky Town line with the escalator. So, took it apart. Like I said, it's just a parts piece. I mean, it worked, but I just need the I just need it for parts. It worked, but it was missing a few small things and characters and stuff. So now I have parts if somebody has this and they broke their Santa or lost their sign. Because I need this. Now, this is slightly different than this one. This shaft is longer and it has this gear on both ends, while the Christmas piece over there has a standard gear. And then you can see these pieces, they just clip in. So normally I just pop the clip, slide it up, and then pull the whole shaft out. But because the top of this one is different than the top of that one, I'm going to have to pull this gear off and pull this gear off. This one should come off relatively easy since it's already cracked. So let's find out. We're gonna see if we can, yeah. So it comes off very easy because it's cracked. I don't know if you'll be able to see the crack right there between my fingers. I'm trying to spread it. This one is going to come off a little harder. And of course we don't want to break it. So first things first is I'm going to see if I can turn it. Nope. So now I'm going to have to pry it off. And so basically what it is, I took one pair of needle pliers and then the bent pair, which is a 45 offset, and then I used it as a lever to slide it off. So that way it's off the knurled section. normally when I press these on, the shaft is out. So this is going to make it slightly more difficult because I have to stop the shaft from going up while pressing it on. And just double check, it's the same exact size. Same teeth, it's just the same. I want to make sure it's the same diameter. So I'm going to hold the shaft with the needle nose. I'm going to be pulling straight down towards my thumb to counteract my thumb pushing up without my best of not bending the shaft. And I got it to start. Now I'm going to do the same thing as I'm going to use the edge of the house to press, because I'm going to now tap it on the rest of the way. It's not tapping very well. Let's try this again. It's usually a lot easier when it's not in the house. What are these needle nose? Oh, these are smooth needle nose. There's no teeth on them. No wonder it's slipping. So when you get a pair of needle nose pliers, they usually have an abrasive area. These are smooth. These have some grip, and they're longer, so see if I can. Yeah, that's definitely a good sign. Let's see if I can get it on just a little bit more, because I can see just a little bit of the knurling left. So again, I'm grabbing the shaft and then pushing up against here. So I'm using this as a fulcrum or a pivot point, since I can't get the shaft completely out. So, and then the reason I'm not using a hammer, I'm using plastic, is because this is plastic for shock absorption. So if you hit it too hard with something metallic, then it's going to crack. Seems pretty good. And you can see the wires. These were the wires that were glued under the lip of the house. That is, I think, the second or third one I've had to remove, where they actually glued the wires in the base of the house. This style house, where you have to separate the top of the house from the base. You can see the red right there. You can see that's the edge of the house. So that this wire could actually protrude out the back. It's so stupid, but it's adjustable. So now let's see about getting this thing somewhat back together and seeing how this thing works. Now we're gonna plug this back in. And I'm gonna do it through the hole. Kind of like how I took it out. Just needed to see the red wire is on the bottom. It might click because it's not seated all the way because I don't think the teeth are meshing, but we're gonna. There we go. They're moving, he's moving, belt's moving, no clacking, no clicking, no nothing. So now we just need to glue it and screw it. Screw the bottom back on and glue the house back down. Now I don't use the hard glue because eventually it's going to break again. I use hot glue. Now this hot glue is stronger than most. This is the Sure Bonder style hot glue. I like it because it bonds really well. So I'm going to push the wires in so they're not sticking out like this. Right here. I'm going to put a smear right on the edges on the inside for this piece here to hold it, and put a bead around the whole house. Normally when I do these, I don't do the front. And the reason I don't glue the front is because of the characters here, here, here. So I usually only glue the sides and the back, and I leave the front free because everything breaks. I know these have a higher rate of breakage than some things, but everything breaks. You're going to take it back apart. So if you have enough glue to hold it together, but not so much that you can never take it apart again, that's where you want to be. You want to be in the middle. You want enough glue to hold it, not enough to have it come apart, and not so much you can never take it apart again. So there we go. This front fascia here is snapped in. There's no glue on it whatsoever. It just has clips all the way around. It popped off, so I just pushed it back down. That was the click you heard. So if you have this piece and you pull it out and this front fascia is cocked at an angle, just push it back down into its clips, and you'll be good to go. So, all right, so I'm gonna fire up the glue gun, like so, and I'm going to glue it back together, and now we're gonna do one more test. We'll do some low light so you can see what this looks like in the low light or dark, however you want to put it. So you know what it will look like in your village if it was dark out or evening. So, but this is real fast. This is a really hard one to take apart. The way they had this one glued doesn't mean yours will be glued the same way, but there's a really high probability it will be. And just take your time, especially when you get to the glue in the middle. Once I turned off the camera, it took me probably half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, non-stop. I didn't stop for anything. Well, sorry, I did stop. I responded to a text message regarding work. Other than that, I didn't stop for anything. Yeah, this one is a little harder than the other ones because this one had a lot more glue, but each piece isn't exactly the same on how they glue it together. That's why sometimes you'll look at a piece and you don't like the paint job, and you look at another piece at the same one and the paint job's better. It's each one's slightly different. So whoever was gluing this one that day at the factory used a lot of glue on the inner piece. Doesn't mean the piece you have has any glue or the same amount. You can use heat. Heat will help, but this is a plastic house or a plastic base with a resin house. Plastic melts first, resin melts second, meaning the glue probably won't melt at all or separate because the plastic has a lower melting point or temperature point than the resin does, because the resin glue they use is similar to the resin here. So this almost becomes pliable when that glue breaks free, that hard glue they use. The plastic usually distorts first, which is why I try to crack them and make it sound like it's breaking the glue versus using heat. It's just from experience. I've heated it up, and I usually heat an inconspicuous spot, and this plastic, like right here on the corner, where I'll try and do it inconspicuous, and the plastic will distort before it starts breaking the glue free. So it's just the nature of the beast. If you want to use heat, do it sparingly. Watch your plastic, look for distortions or discolorations, because the gray will turn brown, the white will turn brown, everything turns brown just before it starts to burn. So, but anyhow, just be careful with heat. Try using multiple prying tools to separate it. You might have better luck. It's going to sound horrible, but you're not melting it. So, and take your time. You saw it took me some time to do it. I didn't just get into it and snap it apart in a half a second. So, anyhow, I'm sure you all know how to use glue. So while I glue this back together and let it dry or cool down, dry, I'm just going to pause it, and then we'll be right back with it fully functional in low light. So one moment, please. Okay, we're back, and it's glued together, and the bottom screwed back on. Okay. So there it is from the top. There's not really any light on the, the Nutcracker. That's weird. There's no light here. I think they should have had one pointing up at him. It's really dark. I mean, not just on the camera, but in person too. You got all these lights pointing down, unless this is supposed to be pointing up. I'm wondering. I bet you this one's supposed to point up because it was twisted. That looks better. There's still a hell of a shadow on him though. Because it hits the drum. But it looks better. I think they should have had the light come out over the top and illuminate his face. It's like a horror movie when you stick or a ghost story. You stick the flashlight under your face and go, "Once upon a time." That's what this reminds me of. Light one's coming back. Let's turn the volume down. And light 2. 3 and 4 can stay off for the moment. So, these two wires I noticed were twisted that hold the light, so that's why I said this is probably supposed to be turned around. And it does add some light, just not enough. At least not for my taste. So anyhow, let's turn it off. So you can see that the bottom is back, actually screwed on. I just don't have the rubber feet in yet, but all the screws are in their holes like they're supposed to be. So, and then I put glue there, glue here, glue here. There's still a gap. No matter what I did to try and push it down, it wouldn't stay down. I think the bottom of this house is tapered in the back. You can kind of see it right there where it kind of cuts up. So I think it was a bad casting. But I did put glue in to fill it so it touches both the bottom and the top. That's another thing nice about hot glue is you can make it a thick bead or a thin bead. So you can fill in gaps. I also glued this. I didn't peel this old glue off because it's painted. So I just kind of pushed it forward, squirted some new glue in, and pushed it back. So that way it doesn't wobble anymore. See, no move. But So on this piece, just a quick recap. If you just need to get to the motor or the belt or the drive gearbox, 3 screws on the bottom. If you need to get to the drive gears that go up, or the drive shaft, you need to remove the outer screws and remove the whole base. If you're afraid of breaking the motor wires, if the motor wire isn't glued under the lip, which it probably is, but if it's not, remove the power port, pop it out, reach in there, unplug it. It's the red and black wire. It's on the bottom. There's 2 plugs on top of each other, kind of like that in here. And the bottom one is the red and black for the motor. So remove that power port and then pull it out, and then you can remove this base and put it off to the side, so you don't have to worry about breaking off the little characters. And then once you do that, you have access to that drive shaft. Now if the gear is broke, you're gonna have to find another one. I put the gear over here for a reason. I'm not throwing it away. Is I'm gonna send this over to a gear company and see if they have them, because I have to send another gear over that they're going to remanufacture for some of the older Mr. Christmas stuff. So if they don't, maybe they can make me a few of those too. So I have spares. But once you do that, hopefully it's fixed. If let's hope it's not, if the top piece has a problem, something in the drive here failed, or you lost an LED light in here and you can't fish it down, there are screws. You have to break this free. There are screws right here. Once you break this free, you need to pop him forward, and there's a couple of screws inside here that you might be able to get to with a wobble. And if you don't have a wobble, look for a little kit like this. I can try and find one and link it below. But this kit comes with, besides an extension, which, put that way, it comes with a wobble, meaning that I can put a bit in here and then bend it and then still make it work. See? This kit does work with this electric screwdriver. It's the same thing as far as the diameter goes. These bits, though, for some reason, they like to fall out. They don't work so well with the magnet that's inside of the electric. So, but you can use the manual screwdriver that comes with this, which is in my drawer. But, so you can use the electric if you want to get one of these from Fantic. This is the Nex NE or Nex E1 Max. I can link it below. They've changed it. They have a new version now. Of course, I owned this for like a week when they came out with the new version, but they came out with a new version a few months ago. And it's supposed to have a little bit better battery life, a little bit more torque. You can hear this thing bogging down. I never let it die completely. Once it was really close, and I always recharge it. It only takes about 45 minutes to an hour to recharge it. There's pretty much only one lithium battery in here, so it doesn't take too long. But I'll link this below too. If you're having hand issues, this makes it a little easier. So, but get those screws out. Go back onto our course here. Get those screws out. You're going to have to put a prying instrument here on both sides. So put a dab of glue on both sides. Pop it up. And then you're going to have to finagle this ramp assembly down a little bit to separate it. And then this drum has to be pulled off too. And then this whole section, not this piece, because you're going to remove this by popping him off and him off, removing the screws. But this whole assembly just falls out the bottom as one big module. You shouldn't ever have to do it. Shouldn't. Keyword. Because if like your belt breaks, even if you took it apart, there's no spare parts. You can't get a belt. You can try and fabricate one. And it's probably possible. But stuff like this, without finding a donor house, you're not going to be able to replace it, unfortunately. So, as far as difficulty, it's moderate, and it's only because of the amount of glue they use and the type of glue they use, at least on this piece. Yours may vary. I've come across pieces that had almost no glue that separated in their packaging on their way to me. And I've had pieces that had so much glue that I've spent an hour, like this, tearing it apart. So your product may vary. So, but anyhow, that is the Nutcracker Factory, Ludwig's wooden Nutcracker Factory to be exact, which I think is hilarious because these are all rubber. And this could be wood, but it's probably just plastic. And even these are rubber. You'd think, just if I was building it, just to make it slightly more realistic, I probably would have made these out of wood. That's me. So, but it's just like if I designed this, I'd have a light, maybe two or one off the top, that the old style factory lights that had the curve and shine on the face, so it doesn't look like you're trying to read a ghost story to somebody. So, but again, that again is my personal opinion. And if you want to go even more realistic, the 4x4s here, these wooden boxes that are plastic, and even these wooden sticks and these wooden boxes, and well, those are cast into the house, so I can understand why those aren't. I would try to make those out of wood too. And if you have this piece, you can buy fake wooden boxes and 2x4 or 4x4s off of places like Temu, and you could remove these and repaint them and relabel them, which you can do with a Cricut machine or a Cameo or Sizer, and you could actually make them out of wood to give it a little bit more realism. So, it's your piece. Change it the way you like it. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Till the next one. Hopefully this will be the start to a good year of repairs as far as getting more of them up for you. And that way in this off season between Christmas and Halloween, which they don't have too many houses out in between, they do, some of the lines do have Valentine's, and some of them have Easter, and some of them have Americana, so 4th of July, Labor Day, Veterans Day, so on and so forth. They don't have too many houses that are animated out in the off season until the release dates, usually in July, when they start coming out with Lemax and Department 56. So this is a good time that if they're broken, fix them, pull them out, tinker with them, because inevitably every year you're going to pull your house out at the appropriate time for setting up if you're one of those people that sets it up for just a certain time and put it away when you're done. Whereas mine is it's a way of life. Mine's up all year round, never really changes, and I just add to it. So if you put them away and store them, you might pull them out early and see if they need any work, because this is the time that you want to do it in the off season. Now, if you are a collector of the other holidays in between, from the little pieces they do offer, most of those aren't animated, but the principles still apply if they have like LED lights and you lost one as an example, or it burned out. A lot of the pieces I've noticed in the off season are also bulb lit. If they're all incandescents, maybe change them to LED. If you haven't heard the reasoning for that in the past, real fast, the two reasons are incandescents are hot. They get hot. They draw more power because that's how they get hot. So if you run LED, your houses stay cooler. Now, bulb lit houses are generally ceramic, but it's still heat. You're still heating that ceramic. And also, incandescents can cause fires easier than LED. And that's reason one. And reason two is the power consumption. Incandescents draw a lot more power, which is why everything's going to LED. Whether you like LED or not, that is the future. They are getting better with LEDs that imitate incandescents, the golden color, the warm color. I know this one is on cold, but I can change it to super cold or to super warm. This right now is imitating. You see the orangish hand, and then if I see how it changes, this can imitate an incandescent bulb. So they're getting more fancy, and with that more fancy, LEDs are going to be the way of the future. And I recommend that everybody that has a C7 bulb lit house, change them to LED. And you get them in colors. So let's say, oh, you have a Halloween house and you don't want this color, this golden color. Get one that's red, blue, purple. Heck, they even have ones that rotate now that can change colors for you. So in this off season, it's a great time to update, modify, fix your existing village. So that way when your season in the year rolls around, you can have it ready to go, set it up, and be relatively worry-free. Because it doesn't matter how good you are, something's always going to fail. That's just Murphy. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. And hopefully we have a good 2024 with villaging. And I am excited to see the new pieces because I've already seen the previews and I'm sure they're going to break. But I can't wait till they all come out here in, I don't know, 5-6 months. It's a long time to wait. But in the meantime, we're going to have more pieces of repair that are Christmas, Halloween, and everything in between. So, till the next one.